Sup bros, today we have a cheap dual motor electric bike called the HiKeep MG-T. Current list price is $12.99 and an extra $100 off that in the link below this video. And if you're not into the dual motor thing, they do have a single motor variation of the same bike. So for a dual motor e-bike, pretty cheap. What corners did they cut? Let's check it out and see what it's made of. So here's what it looks like when you get out of the box. Rolling on Chow Yang tires. Of course, they are the 20x4s. And since it is a dual motor e-bike, we have a geared hub motor on front, listed as 750 watts of nominal voltage, 48 volt system. Does not have any obvious branding from any particular company. Brake rotor on the front is a 180 millimeter. And of course, you get another one of those motors on the rear, 750 watts nominal. And the first interesting thing on this bike is the dual suspension back here. So you get two of those shocks on the other side as well as up here. They are coil springs. Appears to be a hydraulic shock and no sort of adjustments on this suspension at all. For changing our gears, we have a Shimano tourney derailleur. There is a derailleur guard and 7 gears to work with. And I feel like this crank arm is pretty darn long. Don't think I've seen this one before, so it'll be interesting to try. It's got a plastic guard on one side of the chainring. Let's check out the battery. It does have a switch, pops off with a key. And looking on the bottom, it is a 48 volt battery, 15 amp hours with 720 watt hours of energy. Interesting light on the rear. I don't think I've seen this one before. And the seat actually looks like a nice seat. I like the color of it. Feels soft, has like a little lip on the back. Seems decent. And the frame has this kind of like circular tubular frame going on. Got a bit of stem risers and a kind of long stem and pretty flat bars. Got some cheap ergonomic grips with a quarter twist throttle. This one will be running core ride hydraulic brakes, typical 7-speed shifter. Don't think I've seen these controls before. And also I don't think I've seen this display before. On the bottom side, there is a USB-C phone charger. And right by the throttle, there is a key to activate the bike. Front suspension is a dual crown fork. It does have inverted front suspension. It is the Exo Explorer. And now for the part that sucks about building a dual motor e-bike. We got to get that front wheel on there. Also, it looks like we're running core ride calipers. So they do give you the tools to do that and a mini foot pump. And this light actually looks kind of cool. And a user manual. So this piece goes on there. I haven't seen one like that before. And underneath here is where the controllers are, which is pretty hard to show on camera. But if you take a peek in there, you can see the front wheel is 21 amps plus or minus 1 amp. And you can see the rear wheel is a 25 amp plus or minus 1 amp. So we get a little bit more power on the rear wheel, which is typical, a combined 46 amps output at 48 volts.
48 times 46 is 2,208.
So about 2,200 watts of power. But on a full charge, 54 volts. Alexa, what's 48 times 54?
48 times 54 is 2,592.
So about 2,500 watts peak power, according to my math. So we got the headlight on. We do have turn signals. And let's get a quick weigh in on the battery. 10 pounds. And the charger is a 2 amp charger. So I take about 7 hours to charge from empty to full. And real quick weigh in on the bike. Today my weight is 190.2. So we'll subtract my weight standing on the scale, picking the bike up to 80.8. Alexa, what
is 90.6?
So 90.6 pounds for just the bike. Add the battery, we're at 100 pounds. And speaking of adding the battery, we're finally getting to the fun part. Let's try this thing out. Powering on, we get a color display. Display actually looks pretty nice. Get a percentage readout for the battery, miles per hour, very clean display. How many pedal assists? 5. Turn signal lights aren't lighting up here, but they do light up. So we get turn signals up front. You can run them both at the same time. Here's what those signals are looking like on the back. We do get a brake light. And when you press the headlight button, turns that on. Rear light is pretty big. Here's what the headlight looks like shining off in the distance there. It does have a kind of cool look to it. The halo ring light effect. Although it looks like it just turns on and off. So it doesn't appear that you can individually activate the ring and the bright light in the middle. Could be wrong on that. Let's hold the plus button. No, that doesn't do anything. So if you press the RF button, it'll toggle between both motors, flashing rear motor. So it looks like it's just flashing both motors or flashing rear motor. Doesn't look like you can operate just the front motor, which I don't know why you'd want to do that anyway. And then we also get the I button, which shows us our trip, max speed, average speed, and voltage of the battery. Cool, 50.5 5, and amps output of the controller so we can see how much power we're outputting. Oh, and an actual power meter. So pretty solid on that stuff. Time, odometer, trip. Now word is this thing ships as a 20-mile-an-hour e-bike. There's a little procedure to unlock the whole thing. I'm gonna hold the plus and minus button here and see if that gets us, oh, some cryptic looking menus. We'll get it out for a rip in a minute, but I just wanna hop on and tell you what I think of the size of the feel. I am 6'5", inseam 34. I can step over easily, have plenty of clearance here, and sitting down on the bike. Rear suspension feels very firm, and front suspension feels soft. And as you can see, I probably won't be pedaling this bike much as it's kind of designed for a shorter rider. Inseam 34 is a bit much for this one. I think you know what time it is, bros. All right, dudes, let's check out the HiKeep MG-T for a rip. We'll check our official range on that battery. And this is the dual motor variation. Don't forget they have a single motor variation linked below the video as well. And this bike does ship as a 20-mile-an-hour e-bike, but there's a little trick to unlock the full speed, which I already did. Hold down the brake lever, twist this to max, turn on the key, turn on the display, and just hold it for 20 seconds. And we should be unlocked now. Just get a quick little verification on that. It'll spin up to 31.8. And a quick side note, I was gonna test this thing in a stock form and then unlock it, but I unlocked it and I don't know how to reset it back to stock form. So we're just going hard. Let's roll. And just a quick look at those lights. They are pretty darn bright lights. So let's go ahead and see how it does on the 20% grade. I'm gonna put it on dual motor for beginners and throw it on pedal assist 5. And then we'll come back and try it on single motor in just a minute. So 200-pound rider, full throttle, ready, go. And yeah, front wheel is spinning off the line. So zippy feeling dual motor e-bike. And let me just show you what it'll do on single motor. So full throttle on single motor. So single motor, not quite as powerful, showing 535 watts pulling us up, but still pulls us up 20% grade just fine on single motor. And we're gonna try the power modes on the way to the beach. Pedal assist 1 on rear motor takes us up to about 10. I'd imagine it just kind of dials up. So I think we have a cadence sensor on here. So pedal assist 2, single motor is 16 miles an hour. We'll flip it down to 0. You get no power on the throttle or pedaling. We do have 7 gears on this bike. Let's feel them out just a bit here. So it's a 100-pound e-bike. Pedaling is, you know, not optimal, but you can do it. No respect for the e-bikes whatsoever. So back brake locks up nice and easy. These crank arms on this bike are like pretty long. I have like a really long pedal stroke. It makes my knees come up real high for a tall rider at 6'5". This isn't really ideal for me. So we're just gonna get by, you know, on throttle mostly today, but it is a cadence sensor. It doesn't matter how hard you press on the pedals. It'll just kind of give you power proportion to whatever pedal assist you're on. So let's say you have it on single motor pedal assist 5 and start rotating the pedals. It'll just kind of ramp on the power pretty smoothly. So on single motor, feels juicy enough already, really. Let's just do a little launch of pedal assist 5 from a stop. Go. So yeah, it shows about 550 watts, takes us up to 20. And on single motor, we're getting up to about 28. Brakes feel pretty solid, actually. And now on dual motor pedal assist 3, you can tell it's just got a little more kick to it. So before we max this thing out, let's take it off-road just a bit here. We got that quad coil shock on the rear. I can feel the bumps coming up through the rear as all my weight's kind of sitting over the rear end of this bike. The front suspension is pretty soft, but those coil shocks on the rear, having 2 of them, is a bit firm. Tires are on 20 PSI, getting a little wheel spin on that front wheel. Now that we're on pedal assist 5, feels like we're already hitting top speed about 30 into headwind. So with the dual motor, this thing gets up the top speed pretty quickly. So if you see some speed bumps on this one, you're probably gonna wanna avoid them. It ain't no ghost cat suspension. Ugh. So let's get a 0 to 20 rip in on this thing, see how it does. GPS is right here, which will lag just a bit. 200-pound rider, dual motor, full throttle, ready, go. Whoa, a little wheel spin there taking off. And 20. Pretty darn zippy as expected with the short 20-inch wheels and pretty big power. So with all this power and not necessarily a gigantic battery, it'll be interesting to see how we pan out on range today. Having the tiered throttle where we get, you know, basically 16 miles an hour on pedal assist 2 makes it easy just to kind of hold down the throttle and cruise, only doing about 100 watts of power. So if you cruise like this, probably do some pretty big range, but it's the stop and go and hard accelerations and top speed that are going to drain the battery. So with everything unlocked, let's get a top speed run in. I don't even think we're going to need that much runway to do it because this thing accelerates pretty good, getting us up to 25 pretty quickly, 28, 29. and I can feel like the motors are kind of just like reaching their top speed now. So it's 29, 30 on my GPS, 29 on the onboard. This is gonna be your top speed on this 48 volt electric bike. And I can just tell right away, this is gonna be one of those bikes that does really well on the sand, I believe. So let's just get out here right away on the soft sand, climbing a hill. And it says it's outputting 10.6 amps, rolling on 20 PSI on the dual motors. So we were just absolutely torturing this thing. The watt meter says 500 watts, which it's outputting way more than 500 watts. I can tell you that for sure. So dual motors, it just crushes it, especially when you have the knobby tread just ripping along the sand here. It's really just kind of a question like, how long can it do it until something overheats? Now the rear suspension is a little bit firm, but once we get down here on the soft sand, oh man, I can feel a lot of the bumps. When we get back up here, it'll be softer on our bottom side, but a little harder on the motors pushing through this. But just to demonstrate the power of this thing, like you can see we're just out here absolutely cooking 11 miles an hour, really high torque electric bike, having no problems at all. Get a little wear and tear on this bike down here, get some salt water. A little bit harsh on the suspension, but quite a lot of power on this thing. You can see going up the hill in the soft sand on 20 PSI, and it could do better if we drop the PSI a little bit more, but this is not good for the range, especially carrying a 200-pound rider. It has just taken all the torture and abuse I'm putting this thing through on its maiden voyage out here. Pretty solid performance. Although it does say 96% remaining on the battery, but if we switch it on over to voltage sag is reading 48.9 volts after 5.26 miles. So obviously if you want to maximize range, that's not the kind of riding you want to be doing. So let's go try the California incline. All right, so California incline, 85-foot climb, 12% grade. I wonder if we can hit top speed. Maybe we should go easy on the throttle till we get there. All right, running dual motor, pedal assist 5, going into the spiral section. Let's let off, and now full throttle. Getting a little wheel spin on the front wheel. Plenty of torque as expected. Gotta be careful with these front motors going around turns sometimes when they're on max power. And starting at the base of the California incline, we'll goose it. Now it says 47.4 volts. The voltmeter there hitting 15, 20, 24, 25, and topping out right around 25, climbing the Cali incline. So let's give it a quick brake test from right around 20 miles an hour. We do have some sand on the path here. Oh yeah, dude, these core ride brakes, the hydraulic brakes on 180 millimeter rotors. I like them, man, I like them. It is about a 100-pound bike. That's about 23 miles an hour, and these core ride brakes, I've seen these before on other bikes and they're great, man. I like them. All right, so at mile number 10 here, we are showing, it says 75% battery on here. The voltage readout is saying 47 volts. We're gonna head on home and see where that final range ends up, and I'll share my final thoughts along the way. So list price on this one is just under 1,300 bucks, but I do have a discount link for an extra $100 off that price in the link below this video. So for about 1,200 bucks for this bike, really not a terrible value proposition considering what you get for the money. The range might be kind of the one drawback, but ultimately you really just want enough range to do the kind of ride you want to do. You really don't want to be hauling around a big battery if you don't really intend on using it all ever. Now, I guess that could leave you with a little bit of range anxiety if you are planning on getting close to the max range of this bike. The rear suspension, I don't really understand what the point of, you know, doing like a double shock on both sides is. Like, why not just do like one high quality shock on each side, or one monoshock of even higher quality? Suspension is just a little bit firm, but other than that, like, pretty solid, bro. So let's head on home, check the final range. And on the way home, I can feel the battery is feeling a little bit like it's running out of juice. So just crossing over 18 miles on today's ride, average speed 12.5 miles per hour, and we are out there for an hour and 26 minutes of ride time. Now the battery voltmeter here is showing 45.6 volts remaining. The percentage readout is saying 58%, which is not really accurate. Maybe if we load it up under throttle, it'll read out the correct percentage. Yeah, now it's showing 21% under throttle. So the battery is starting to get down there. I can tell, you know, it's not quite as juicy as it was in the beginning. We're not like peeling out on the front tire anymore. The reality is a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery pack on a system that's dual motors and is capable of drawing as much power as this bike is, you can burn through that battery relatively quickly. Obviously, you could slow your roll and get more range out of it, or you could be lighter, or you could just not ride it in the sand and go crazy. There's a lot of things you could do that I did not do today to maximize the range. So that is the HiKeep MG-T MG-T. If you do want to grab one of these, save yourself some money. Use my link and discount code down below this video. That'll get you the best price. And of course, I greatly appreciate your support. However, if this is not the kind of electric bike you're looking for, check this video out, bro. Catch you over there.